Welcome to TNN's Daily Headline and Prophecy News with your host and angel of truth, Joan of Arc. Joan will be sharing truth-filled, hard-hitting factual news on a daily basis covering the topics of health, financial, geopolitical issues, and more. So please join Joan as she covers the news in these prophetic times. And remember, the truth shall set you free. We also want to introduce you to our friends at Divine Source Solutions, your divine source for health, prosperity and spiritual growth. They are a diverse group of believers, pastors, doctors, social workers, teachers, public servants, business owners, parents, Native American tribal leaders and more. United by their shared faith in a loving God. Whether you are dealing with health issues, lost a job, losing a home, food scarcity concerns or struggling to prosper financially, they will partner with you to create a workable solution based on your current situation. They share our belief here at Trinity News Network, that there are no governmental or political solutions to the problems we are facing in this fallen world. So their health and prosperity care ministries were created to coach you with spiritually and professionally based real-life solutions to stay healthy and prosper in these difficult times. You may choose to achieve this through a combination of attending their self-paced 52-week video blog Bible study series, online sermons through Fire and Grace Church, free health coaching and weight management guidance, prayer assistance, additional daily headline and prophecy news and more. You can reach out to them at www.divinesourcesolutions.org. We are also proud of our friends at the Support Local Foundation and their humanitarian efforts in restoring health and prosperity, one community at a time. Their local featured small business owners are offering simple local solutions to complex problems in a community near you. So check them out at www.supportlocalfoundation.org. So here's your host and angel of truth, Joan of Arc.
Hello, this is Joan of Arc, your host and angel of truth with Trinity News Network, where the truth shall set you free. Welcome and thanks for joining me on this Monday, January 9th, 2023. So, let's get started on the latest with foreign policy in the news. Middle East meltdown. It has long been reported on how Israel has been conducting a years-long, clandestine war with Iran over Tehran's nuclear program and its support of Hezbollah. Israel has admitted to the bombing of targets across Syria and warned Lebanon that its main airport could be targeted in missile strikes if it continues to funnel weapons to Iranian troops in Syria. And, as we go to press, it was reported that Israel bombed the Damascus International Airport, putting it out of service. This is the second time that Israel bombed the airport. When Israel's airstrikes were launched last June, the UN said it halted the delivery of aid flights into Syria for 2 weeks. In September, Israel also bombed Syria's Aleppo International Airport. The US has a close relationship with Israel and will often be informed about future strikes in the region to prevent American casualties. The Biden administration has rejected Iranian positions to revive the 2015 Obama-era nuclear deal that was scuttled by President Donald Trump in May of 2018. Thus, since that time, Washington's diplomatic relationship with Tehran is essentially non-existent. The Ukraine war and Benjamin Netanyahu's recent victory as Prime Minister of Israel has only intensified animosity. Iran has been blamed for supplying Russia with drones that have been employed by Russia in its hammering Ukraine's infrastructure. The US, which is intent on defeating Russia, is considering ways to choke off Tehran from obtaining materials used to produce these drones, and consulting with Israel on how to hurt Iran's production, the New York Times reported. The paper cited multiple security officials in the US and elsewhere. Jake Sullivan, President Joe Biden's national security advisor, held a video meeting with Israel's top national security officials to talk about Tehran's growing military relationship with Russia, including the transfer of weapons the Kremlin is deploying against Ukraine, targeting its civilian infrastructure and Russia's provision of military technology to Iran in return. The paper noted that the US has worked with Israel before to take down Iran's nuclear program. There is a sense of urgency in Washington because it is believed that Iran is preparing to send Russia new missiles to replenish its stockpiles, the report said. Western officials have warned in recent weeks that Iran is preparing to provide missiles to Russia and increase its supply of drones, which have been apparently used in strikes on Ukrainian civilians and infrastructure sites. We are looking at ways to target Iranian UAV production through sanctions, export controls, and talking to private companies whose parts have been used in the production, Adrienne Watson, the spokeswoman for the National Security Council, told the paper. Iran has denied sending drones and other arms to Russia during the conflict. The Conflict Armament Research Group said in a report last month that Iranian drones found in Ukraine have contained parts and semiconductors that are produced in Asia, Europe, and the US, the Times of Israel said. Netanyahu returns. Western countries have expressed concerns about the Knesset coalition formed by Benjamin Netanyahu. The Trends Journal documented some of the politicians forming Netanyahu's cabinet that have histories of anti-Palestinian and anti-gay bias. Itamar Ben-Gvir, the head of the Jewish Power Party, headlines Netanyahu's crew. He was named the country's new national security minister. He was convicted in 2007 of incitement to racism and belonging to a terrorist organization. He will be tasked with running sensitive operations in the West Bank, the Times of Israel said. He will be in charge of quelling Palestinian riots and protests. Middle East observers have noted the concerns felt in Washington, but there is no daylight between Washington and Israel vis-a-vis Iran. Al Monitor noted that the Biden administration has abandoned hope for a diplomatic coup in Iran, and has turned instead to increasing sanctions, which the website said, sounds a lot like Donald Trump's maximum pressure campaign, which is fine with Netanyahu. Jake Sullivan, Biden's top national security advisor, is expected to visit Netanyahu next month, and Netanyahu will be visiting Washington. So, let's get started on the latest with health policy in the news. Busted. Those doctors on Twitter who claimed hordes of patients were dying from COVID every day were fake. The advent of social media has become the bane of modern society, as it has created a world that literally does not exist, for the most part. Gone are the days of MySpace and the early years of Facebook, when users simply posted status updates, photos from places they visited, recipes, and other things to keep in touch with family and friends. Today's version of social media exists to foist lies, propaganda, and false narratives on tens of millions of people by the minute, used by government and some in the private sector for non-stop psychological warfare, as Twitter boss Elon Musk has recently revealed with his dumps of Twitter files. Now, we learn that Twitter was used to spread massive lies about the COVID-19 pandemic in order to scare the public into complying with one tyrannical mandate after another. As Revolver News reports, a pair of doctors who claimed that they witnessed dozens of COVID deaths per shift were not even real people. If you were on Twitter back when the COVID fear-mongering was at its peak, you'll likely remember the Twitter doctors who popped up, seemingly out of thin air, claiming they were losing hordes of patients to COVID every single day. These so-called doctors whipped everyone into a fear frenzy. Their tweets would get tens of thousands of retweets and engagement daily. The doctors posed as physicians and were part of the LGBTQ community in some way. They created this hellish, apocalyptic scenario that made it sound as if bodies were piling up in the streets. Well, this probably won't come as a huge surprise to you, but those popular doctors were fake. The site quoted a bombshell report in the San Francisco Standard, which revealed the false flag operation. Last month, Dr. Robert Honeyman lost their sister to COVID. They wrote about it on Twitter and received dozens of condolences, over 4,000 retweets and 43,000 likes, the outlet reported. Exactly 1 month later, on December 12, Honeyman wrote that another tragedy had befallen their family. Sad to announce that my husband has entered a coma after being in hospital with COVID. The doctor is unsure if he will come out, they tweeted. This year has been the toughest of my life, losing my sister to this virus. This is the first time in my life I don't see light at the end of the tunnel. Once more, the condolences and well wishes poured in. Americans are a compassionate lot, after all. regardless of what lying leftist Democrats often say. But again, none of this was true. It was all fake. Honeyman wasn't real, the San Francisco Standard reported. The transgender, doctor of sociology and feminist studies with a keen interest in poetry who used they/them pronouns was, in fact, a stock photo described on Deposit Photos, a royalty-free image site, as smiling happy, handsome Latino man outside headshot portrait. Their supposedly comatose husband, Dr. Patrick C. Honeyman, was also fake. His Twitter photo had been stolen from an insurance professional in Wayne, Indiana, the outlet's report noted further. But it gets worse. The outlet noted that the two phony doctors, whose accounts continually urged caution about COVID-19 and pushed for lockdowns, masking, business closures, etc., were part of a larger network of at least 4 fake accounts that promoted alleged ties to the LGBTQ community. The accounts also posted heated criticisms of anyone who was viewed as not taking the pandemic seriously enough or who pushed back on the tyrannical measures. And interestingly enough, the scam was uncovered by a liberal writer. The fake doctors were uncovered by Joshua Gutterman-Trannan, a self-described gay writer pursuing a Master's of Fine Arts at Bennington College. He saw Robert Honeyman's tweet about their husband being in a coma, noticed people he followed also followed them, and thought that they might be part of the LGBTQ+ academic community, the outlet reported. But after 10 minutes of Googling, Gutterman-Trannan concluded that Robert Honeyman's photo was a stock image and their biography stretched boundaries of believability. An academic who left no traces on academic websites and had lost 2 family members to COVID in late 2022, despite masking and distancing, the report stated. Once again, social media was being used to push lies, false narratives, and propaganda, proving once again that the big tech companies are no doubt tied to the American deep state. So, let's get started on the latest with economy in the news. Dirty cash to digital trash. War on COVID, war in Ukraine, war on cash. Governments will move to further clamp down on our freedoms by introducing central bank-backed digital currencies, CBDCs. As predicted in the July 28, 2020 edition of Trends Journal, they had accurately forecast that the world monetary system will devolve from dirty cash to digital trash. With central banks flooding nations with trillions to artificially inflate failing economies, we forecast they would replace existing currencies with digital ones, thus creating the illusion with a new currency replacing the old. They are wiping away the mountains of debt they have created. To consider the future in finance, you have to look back in the past, and 2022 has been instructive in regard to digital currency and the health of the stock and bond markets. The S&P 500 fell 19% and the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 8.8%. The Nasdaq took a 33% nosedive in the past year. The bond market saw an uptick in selling, prompting the yield on the 10-year Treasury to rise to 3.826%. Stocks and bonds worldwide lost $30 trillion in 2022, which represented the steepest decline since 2008. Cryptos fared worse. Bitcoin fell 64% and Ethereum 67%. Bloomberg's Multiverse Index said companies lost $25 trillion in value in the last year, according to the Financial Times. There have been a plethora of factors in the financial pain. Governments locked down small businesses, killed livelihoods and disrupted supply chains when they began fighting the COVID war in 2020, while flooding economies with countless trillions of dollars backed by nothing and printed on nothing and keeping interest rates into negative and 0 basis points. Later in 2022, central banks, which denied inflationary risks for years, increased interest rates and ended the era of cheap money and quantitative easing. Western sanctions against Russia have only added new economic pain. With the global economy in decline, central banksters will invent a new scheme to cover up their money printing scheme by coming up with new currencies. U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said during a press conference in March 2021 that any digital currency a central bank creates needs to coexist with cash and other types of money in a flexible and innovative payment system. The Fed at the time was experimenting in-house with digital currencies, and the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston is collaborating with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology to research and study them. The New York Federal Reserve Bank and other major banks in the U.S. launched a pilot program to test a digital dollar. There are 15 central banks testing some form of digital currencies. The reality is that cash, that is, physical currency, is on its way out in practically every economy in some countries. The use of cash is already plunging, and I suspect the day will come even in the U.S. when currency is not used anymore. Ezra Prasad, a professor of trade policy at Cornell University, told PBS. The report stated that China rolled out its digital currency in 2020, during the Beijing Olympics, which some experts noted could mean the yuan could become an international currency that can compete with the greenback. Ostensibly, the hope is that the new digital dollar could make transferring money easier and cheaper for those who do not use traditional banks, but there are obvious privacy concerns, the report said. These central bank cryptos should not be confused with others and are backed up by hard currency. The Trends Journal has long noted Washington will crack down on cryptos when they become a possible threat, and it seems as though politicians and agencies are using the collapse of FTX and Terra USD as examples of how more oversight is needed in the industry. Wall Street Silver, a popular Twitter account, posted that the SEC will likely try to control cryptocurrencies by authorizing the Fed and Treasury to bring a central bank digital currency to the public. The government would be able to monitor all purchases and freeze all accounts. We saw how Canada froze bank accounts during the trucker protests early last year. More control over the public. Mises.org reported that the International Monetary Fund (IMF) published a document in 2017 that offered suggestions to governments even in the face of strong public opposition on how to move toward a cashless society. Governments and central bankers claim that the shift to a cashless society will help prevent crime and increase convenience for ordinary people. But the real motivation behind the war on cash is more government control over the individual. So, let's get started on the latest with natural health in the news. What's the difference between coconut oil and MCT oil? Coconuts are a great natural source of fat. Coconuts provide rich nutrients to the body. People consume coconut water for hydration purposes. The white meat inside a coconut can be a snack full of antioxidants to help prevent chronic disease. They even have antimicrobial properties which can detract from dangerous bacteria in the system. All this being said, this fruit provides a wealth of benefits to the human body. Two other ways that the coconut contributes to human health are from its extractions: coconut oil and the further refined MCT oil. Both are known to contain certain properties which can aid anyone from the athlete to the working mom. As options such as the keto diet grow in popularity, it is crucial to know how these compounds may help your nutritional journey. Coconut oil is an edible oil derived from the meat of coconuts. These come from the Araceaceae family, and producers typically source them from the southeast region of the world. Coconut oil provides a wealth of medium-chain triglycerides, also known as MCTs. These are one of the 3 types of saturated fats found within the body. Coconut oil is made up of approximately 65% of MCTs, which can be broken down into the bloodstream quicker than other longer-chain saturated fats. This provides the potential for quicker energy to fuel the body as it journeys straight to the liver, rather than other tissues within the body. Coconut oil is mainly popular for use in cooking, where it can be a substitute for more fatty oils that do not provide the same benefits. MCT oil comes from a process known as fractionation, where people extract MCT from coconut oil to make a pure concentrate. As its name suggests, MCT oil is a medium-chain triglyceride. Although it derives from a saturated fat, namely palm or coconut oil, its status as a medium-chain triglyceride helps the body in unique ways. For example, MCT contains about 6 to 12 carbon atoms in its chain, compared to the 13 to 21 in longer chains. This means it can easily be broken down in the bloodstream to allow for a quick source of energy. Unlike most saturated fats, MCT works quickly in the body and converts to energy rather than building up, providing some positive benefits right away. Coconut oil is resoundingly popular in the cooking world. This largely revolves around its composition as a medium-chain triglyceride. Since there are less carbon atoms, it is easier for your body to digest. This also means that there is less reason to store it in the body, and instead can convert to energy quickly. Coconut oil is also a great source of vitamin E, which is vital for normal bodily function from vision to skin health. Utilizing coconut oil in cooking can allow the body to achieve normal insulin levels and maintain a healthy cholesterol. This is especially something to consider if using other forms of saturated fats at a high rate. Coconut oil can be a great advantage in meals rich with fatty acids. It is important to keep in mind, as with all things, cooking with coconut oil should be done in moderation. As a saturated fat, coconut oils provide fats that can balance your cholesterol, as the human body needs fat to energize. However, using too much can detract from the positive benefits, so it's important to keep in mind how much you use as you cook. A balanced nutrition is also crucial to unlocking the benefits of coconut oil. Athletes and bodybuilders alike utilize MCT oil in their workout routines. The medium-chain triglyceride composition allows the body to unlock unique benefits without the negative side effects of other saturated fats. Read below to see a few of those benefits. Energy. One of the most promising benefits of MCT oil is the natural, quick energy production. As the body absorbs MCT oil, it goes straight to the liver for a seamless energy delivery. Since it can be absorbed so quickly, a person may feel the energizing effects almost instantaneously, making it perfect for a pre-workout routine. Gut health. Another positive aspect of MCT oil is in the gut. Your gut produces a wide range of bacteria, some better than others. MCT oil interacts with the gut to ensure quality bacteria production, meaning the good guys are there to stay while the bad guys are sidelined. Gut health is the bedrock of overall well-being, and as such can be the make or break in wellness. Supplementing with MCT oil can protect that foundation. Endurance is of particular interest to athletes. MCT oil promotes endurance in the body, allowing for longer workouts and greater performance. MCT oil is able to do this by reducing lactate levels that otherwise build up in the body. A study conducted by the Journal of Nutritional Science and Vitamin found that MCT oil taken before a workout lessened how much the athlete perceived their exertion, allowing for longer workout times. Heart health. Another possible benefit is how MCT oil boosts heart health. MCT oil may improve serum lipid profiles, which tell us our cardiovascular health. More research is being conducted on how MCT oil may help out the heart. Both coconut oil and MCT oil provide unique benefits to the body. This is because of the unique chemical makeup that allows them to be absorbed in the body quicker than other types of fats. While coconut oil is used primarily for cooking, MCT oil can be a benefit when considering workout supplements for the quick and easy energy it supplies. So, let's get started on the latest with prophecy in the news. Benedict's death clears path for Pope Francis to retire of old age in future. 6 months ago, Pope Francis brushed off speculation he was about to resign due to health problems, but even if he had toyed with the idea, he faced one major obstacle. There was already another ex-pope in retirement. The death on Saturday of Benedict, who in 2013 became the first pontiff in 600 years to step down instead of reigning for life, should make any decision to step down easier on Francis and the Church, which has struggled enough with having 2 popes, let alone 3, 2 retired and 1 reigning. It could also prompt the current pontiff to review what happens to future popes who decide to shuffle away from office because of old age rather than holding on until they die. Francis is now 86, 1 year older than Benedict was when he retired. Despite needing a cane and a wheelchair, he shows no sign of slowing down. Trips are planned for Africa this month and Portugal in August. He has made it clear that he would not hesitate to step down someday if his mental or physical health impeded him from leading the 1.3 billion member church. In an interview with Reuters on July 2, he dismissed rumors of imminent resignation. "It never entered my mind," he said, also denying rumors among diplomats that he had cancer. The previous month, The Catholic media world and some secular outlets were caught up in a frenzy of unsubstantiated reports and frivolous tweets speculating he would be out within a few months. But as he now approaches the 10th anniversary of his election in March, and in 4 years his life's 9th decade, the chances of resignation will increase. Church law says a pope can resign, but the decision must be without outside pressure, a precaution that harkens back to the centuries when European potentates influenced the papacy. No longer unthinkable. Now that longer lifespans have made papal resignations no longer unthinkable, there have been repeated calls from church leaders to regulate the role of former pontiffs, in part because of the confusion stemming wrought by 2 men wearing white living in the Vatican. Francis told a Spanish newspaper last month that he did not intend to define the juridical status of Popes Emeritus, although he had previously indicated privately that a Vatican department could script such rules. Australian Cardinal George Pell, a conservative who was close to Benedict, has written that while a retired pontiff could retain the title of Pope Emeritus, he should return to being a cardinal, and be known as Cardinal, Pope Emeritus. Pell also said a former pontiff should not wear white, as Benedict did, telling Reuters in a 2020 interview that it was important for Catholics to be clear that there is only one pope. Academics and canon lawyers at Italy's Bologna University who have studied the issue say the Church cannot risk even the appearance of having 2 heads or 2 kings and have proposed a set of rules. They say a former pope should not return to being a cardinal, as Pell proposes, but be called Bishop Emeritus of Rome. Francis told Reuters in July that is precisely what he would want to be called. In that case, there might not be any need for new legislation. He would then be subject to existing rules covering retired bishops. Existing rules say bishops emeritus should avoid every attitude and relationship that could even hint at some kind of parallel authority to that of the diocesan bishop, with damaging consequences for the pastoral life and unity of the diocesan community. Although he had retired, Benedict wrote, gave interviews and, unwittingly or not, became a lightning rod for opponents of Pope Francis, either for doctrinal reasons or because they were loath to relinquish the clerical privileges the new pope wanted to dismantle. Francis told Reuters that he would not stay in the Vatican or return to his native Argentina, but live modestly in a home for retired priests in the Italian capital, because it's my diocese. He said he would want it to be near a large church so he could spend his final days hearing confessions. For more information related to Bible study support, getting closer to God, staying healthy, food scarcity solutions and more, visit our friends at www.divinesourcesolutions.org.
Thanks again for tuning in with us at TNN's Daily Headline and Prophecy News with your host and Angel of Truth, Joan of Arc. Please join Joan every weekday, Monday through Friday, as she continues to cover hard-hitting, truth-filled news topics in these prophetic times. And remember, the truth shall set you free.